All right, so we're doing section 4.2. The first couple of pages are actually just review. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 is 8. So that's 2 to what power? Oh, 2 to the third power is going to give you 8. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4, so 2 to the fourth power. This is times what? We're going to be adding. So this is going to be 3. 2 to the third times 2 to the third, 3 plus 3 is 6. 2 to the third times 3 to the third. This one is actually, you can go ahead and say it is 6 to the third. The reason you can do that is because you can actually rewrite this as 2 times 3 to the third. So it is 6 to the third. All right, and you can go ahead and check it if you want. $216, 6 to the third, also 216. So we're good. That one's kind of a little bit tricky. All right, this one, 4 to the third. So, well, you could work it out, and I'll show you with the calculator, but this is the same thing as 2 times 2 to the third, because that'll give you 4 to the third. So this is going to be the same thing as 2 to the third times 2 to the third. So that's actually 2 to the 6th. That's how I think about it. Different ways to think about it. Let's go ahead and make sure. So we have a 4 to the third, and then 2 to the 6th, which is 64. Perfect, it works. All right. 3 squared this is like 5 to the 6th over 5 squared, so you know it's 5 to the 4th. Oh, this one you can't do. This one is going to be 25 minus 9 is 16, so that's actually just 2 to the 4th power. This one you had to work out with numbers because of the addition and subtraction. Addition, subtraction, and algebra is a little bit trickier. All right, let's see what's going on here. 1/3, well, I know 1/3 is the same thing as 3 to the negative 1. So this is 3 to the 5th divided by what is going to give you 3 to the negative 1. So that's the same thing as if you had 3 to the 5th over 3 to the 6th. Or you subtract the exponents. 5 minus 6, negative 1. Order these in number from greatest to least. Anything to the 0 power is 1. 0 to the 6 power is 0 times 0 times 0, 6 times 0. 3 squared is 9. 2 cubed is 8. 7 to the negative 1 is the reciprocal, 1 over 7. The largest one is 3 squared. 2 cubed. Oops. 0 to the 6th, 1/7. 7 to the negative 1. Okay, hopefully you guys got those. And let me turn to the next page. All right, so the same thing, just more practice. If you guys want to go ahead and pause the video, take a minute to work it through, and then just fast forward it to the end and check your answers, or you can just listen to my explanation. 3 2s, 9, 3, 6, 9. It's 3 squared, and this is going to be 6 squared. Same thing, this is going to be the same thing as 3 times 4 cubed, so it's 12 cubed. 4 to the 5th, the same thing, is going to be 2 times 2 to the 5th power. So that is 2 to the 5th, 2 to the 5th. Add the exponents. And again, you can always use your calculator to do a quick check. Division, same thing. Because it's a subtraction, be careful with this one. So this is going to be 100 minus 36 is 64. So then 4 to the 3rd power is 64. And again, it doesn't have to do with adding or subtracting these. You actually just have to work those ones out. 5 to the 4th. So this is -2. 4 to the 5th. To get a -2, you're going to have 4 to the 7th on the bottom, or subtract the exponents. I'll just leave it. Okay, so same thing. Anything to the 0 power is 1. 0 multiplied 10 times is still 0. 2 to the 5th, 32. Greatest. Write down 2 to the 5th, I think. 1/11th. And then, okay, not bad. Moving right along. So this one again, this is still review. Again, if you needed that, wanted to check your answers, there you guys go. Okay, this part, what you want to do is, it's actually like an activity where you're supposed to cut these out and match them up. I went ahead and just copied these really fast, so I don't have to flip my paper back and forth. And these might match with these, so more than one thing could match. I'm just going to go ahead and just work them out. So just take a minute, pause the video, simplify all these, and then double check and see if you paused them, if you simplified them correctly. So for this one, you could go 4 times 9 is 36, or you could go 6 squared, which is 36. I think it's easier for me just to do the numbers. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'll have to fast forward this. So work those through, and then I'll explain at the end. Okay, so I finally did the worksheet. And again, there's different ways to do this. It doesn't matter as long as you get the same right answer or at the end. And then they wanted you guys to match this up. So this is going to be, let's see, 2 to the 1st is going to be S1. And is there another 2? So that looks good. 2 to the 5th is, did I get a 32? Just those two would end up matching at the end. All right, so that's where it is. And again, these answers simplified and from this page right there. All right, go ahead, pause the screen if you need that one right there. Again, imaginary numbers review. So you should already know this. You just took your test on this. If you want to pause your screen, that might be easier. And then just fast forward to after I do the answers, give yourself like a minute to work through these. Let's go through these. So square root of negative 32. Or if you want to just mute myself while you just kind of see the work so you don't have to hear me. So this is the square root of fastest way is negative 16 and 2, which is 4i root 2. 10i. 175 is going to be square root of negative 25 and 6, 4, 7. So it's 5i root 7. Add these. So 2i's and 6i is just going to be 8i. Combine your like terms. Take the sign in front of it. That answer is fine, but if you were to look up your answer in the back of the book, they always write real and then your imaginary. So that's like if you were to see an answer where it has something like x plus 3 is your answer, they don't write it as 3 plus x, saying they write the real and then your imaginary. That's just standard notation plus imaginary. So a better answer would be negative 4 minus 2i. It means the same, it's just the form. Combine your like terms. We'll do the real. Same problem, don't let the parentheses confuse you, okay? If, because it's a plus sign, you could have just dropped it. If it was a minus, you distribute. If it didn't have a sign, then you would actually multiply. Oh yeah, so here, this one, you're not distributing the minus here because there is no parentheses. Combine your like terms. So negative 8 and negative 4, negative 12. Positive 3, negative 5, negative 2i. This one, you are distributing that. So that's a negative 4, a positive 5i. Real negative 12 plus 8i. Multiply this out. The only rule is when you have an I squared, that's really a negative 1. So that changes this into a positive 40. And nothing else combines, so you're good. Be careful multiplying this out. So you're going to do the same thing. That's a negative 1, so this is really a positive 15. Combine your like terms here. So we have a 52i. So we have negative 17. Good, go ahead, check your answers on that if you're coming back. All right, good. Okay, the next page is powers of I. They actually repeat. Make sure you won't have your notes later on, so you actually have to remember I to the first power is I. I squared by definition is negative 1. I cubed is negative I. And I to the fourth is a positive 1. All right. And there's some kiddos outside playing basketball, so I think that's them driving the dogs nuts. So what you're going to do is it repeats after every 4. So you're just going to take 11 and divide it by 4. So 11 divided by 4, well, you already know what that is. But it goes in twice, has a remainder of 3. So because it's a remainder of 3, then your answer is I, negative I. This one, it's division. It's already simplified, except it's bad math. They don't like it they don't like imaginary numbers in the denominator. So what you have to do is you multiply by the conjugate. The conjugate of 3 minus 5i is 3 plus 2i. Multiply it all out, combine your like terms. So on the top, you're going to get maybe I'll just edit the whole video. Okay, so this is 3. Let me just do this again. All right, if you're just coming back, I had written the wrong number there. It was a 2i. Oops. So the conjugate of 3 minus 5i is 3 plus 5i. And the only reason I caught my own mistake was because my numbers on the bottom had imaginaries. You're not supposed to end up with imaginary numbers, so I knew I had done something wrong. So this is correct here. Go ahead and multiply it out. Multiply the bottom part out. So again, watch my math. Whenever you see an I squared, plug in a -1. So that's going to be a positive 25. So on top, you're going to get 6 plus 10i. You can have imaginaries on top, just no imaginaries on the bottom. That's going to cancel, and you're left with 36. Now, didn't see that. Okay, this is correct, and I will mark it wrong. You need to be careful. You actually need to make sure that you know how to simplify. Go ahead, go one more step. Break it apart into 6 over 36 plus 10i over 36. It goes under both of those, and then reduce. So this is 1/6 plus 5i over 18. And that's the most reduced that it'll be. Okay, so up until now, this was all review. Now we're starting the new part. So, hope you're ready. All right, really important to make sure that the whole reason that you're doing everything unit 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is to be able to do the quadratic formula. You'll have real numbers, you'll have square roots, you'll have imaginary numbers. So all of this. So remember when I said, what are all the ways to solve equations? And you had all the different ways. Let me see if I can find that. All right, let's see. Okay, so to cancel addition, subtract, to cancel multiplication, divide, multiply by fraction, multiply by the reciprocal. To solve a quadratic, you can square root it. You can factor it. Remember, factoring has all those weird methods. You can complete the square, and you can use quadratic formula. What's the whole point of that? Square root only works for sum. Factoring, only some problems factor. Completing the square, only some problems you can solve by completing the square. Quadratic formula works for all quadratic equations. Wait, why would you learn these methods if this formula solves all of those problems? All right, one more time. Why would you learn these methods for solving quadratics when quadratic formula actually solves all of those? I could have just learned quadratic formula and done one chapter and been done. Well, It turns out quadratic formula can be a little bit long and confusing, so sometimes these are a little bit shorter. It's like how I always say driving through 154 or the 101. Maybe not always, you know, sometimes these methods are faster, right? All right, here we go. So quadratic formula, you will have to learn, love this, and memorize this. It applies to a quadratic equation in standard form of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a is the coefficient in front of your x squared term, b is the coefficient in front of your x term, and c is your constant. Formula is x is equal to, wait, what's x? Remember, x is your x-intercepts. They are your roots. They are the zeros of your function. It's solving for x. Okay, so when they ask that, you can use this method. You can also use all of these methods. Formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, so here we go. Plug this in, and again, this is your a, b, c. X equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And you should end up memorizing it, even though you have your notes. You'll do it enough times that you want to memorize it. All right, a value is, ooh, careful. Before you solve it, you always want to make sure everything is on one side of the equation. Set it equal to 0. So this is 3x squared minus 4x. Move the negative 4 over. Positive 4 equals 0. So be careful. A value is 3, B value is negative 4, C value is 4. Negative, this is your B squared, so negative 4. And I'll do all of this. Most of you would probably just put a positive 4 because you already know how to do that. Like to take the negative of it. B squared, so that's negative 4, put parentheses when you plug stuff in, minus 4, your A value is 3, your C value is 4, all over 2A. All right, clean it up. So this is going to be x equals, right, nice and pretty and small, positive 4 plus or minus. This is 64, 48. All right. Be careful with that negative right there. And the dogs are going nuts outside. All right, this looks good, but I will actually mark it wrong. Couple of things. Square root of negative 32, you can actually simplify it. So we're going to do some side work. And I don't know what they're barking out. Sorry, guys. I'm at school. Okay, negative 16.2. So that is 4i root 2. I'm going to go back here. X equals 4 plus or minus 4i root 2. Instead of putting it all over 6, because I want to make sure that they reduce, I'm going to break it apart right now. So that's over 6 and that's over 6. Next thing I want to do is see if I can reduce this. So this is 2 over 3. 4 and 6. And again, that's why you have a quadratic formula, because you end up with weird answers like that. But wait, I thought it was, again, what does the solution mean? Where it crosses your x-axis. So where does this graph actually cross your x-axis? So it doesn't. These are imaginary solutions. And we'll talk about that in class next time so I can explain what these actually mean a little bit more. All right, that is your first problem, first quadratic equation. Next one. Go ahead, pause the video. Dogs are still barking in the background, and then just turn on the video, fast forward it to the end. or I'll keep talking. Okay, everything set equal to 0. A value is 5. B value is -2. C value is -1. It's negative B value, B squared minus 4AC over 2A. Careful with your sign. -4. Usually I'll just multiply this. 4 times 5 is 20 times 1 is 20. And then I go, oh, there's 2 negatives, so it's a positive. Be careful. This is where a lot of students get this wrong because they go too fast. So be careful with your signs right there. Looks good. And again, I would mark your answer wrong. You kind of just need to look at this and say, wait. Can I simplify a little bit more? Is there anything else I can do? And yes, you can. So some quick side work. So I'm going to rewrite this as square root of 24 is the same as 2 root 6. See if anything simplifies, and it does. Final answer is -1 plus or minus square root of 6. You could do all over 5 or both of them under 5. However you want. Usually they like the imaginary numbers split up into 2 different parts, but if they're all numbers, sometimes they write them all over 5. I'm okay with either way. Also, if you needed to, you could plug this into your answer and get a decimal approximation for that. All right, this next part, we're going to get more practice on quadratics a little bit for next class. But what we're going to do right now is, let's just say we do all the right math, because what happens is students plug this in correct. They simplify correct. They don't get the right answer. Plug this in correct. Do this correct. Do this correct. And then they give me the wrong answer at the end. So what I'm going to do is I took some random problems where I said, okay, let's just say we've done all the work, and then this is our answer. How do you actually simplify it? So first problem, make sure you're paying attention to this. Very, very important. Students tend to do all the right work and they get problems wrong just because they simplified incorrectly. What simplifies right there? Nothing. You cannot cancel the 4, and actually, so you can leave it like this, but you can't cancel the 4 and the 2 right there. That would be wrong, because then you would just get 2 plus or minus square root of 3. You can't do that. But if you were to break it apart, you could do 4 over 2. And then from here, if you break it apart, easy to see, 4 over 2 is 2. This answer is fine. This answer is fine. If you just canceled those out right there, that's wrong. So best thing to do is just break it apart. All right, next problem. Go ahead, break it apart. Simplify, reduce. Hit the pause button. Do it yourself, then check your answer. All right, nice. Hopefully you guys did that one right. Okay. All right, next one. Oh, there's a whole page of them. What I would do is hit the pause button so you don't have to hear me. Give yourself some time and then unmute yourself or unpause the video and then actually see how I reduce them. All right, go ahead, pause it. Hopefully you guys got the right answers and are not just copying me, because you actually want to make sure that you do understand how to do these. So the first ones are Oh, those dogs are going nuts out there. Sorry, guys. This one, be careful. This is saying 7 plus 3. And then the other one is saying 7 minus 3. Because they're numbers, you can't leave it like this. You actually do have to simplify it. If it's a square root, you could leave it, but if they're numbers, you do need to simplify it. All right, be careful with this one. And it would be nice if I would have showed you my work, right? Sorry about that. Nobody to tell me that I'm off the screen. Okay, so again, one more time. This is 7 plus 3 over 2. And do that, so 10 over 2 is 5. And then you also have to do 7 minus 3 over 2, and then simplify it. I'm off the screen again. There you go. Negative 1/4. You can't leave it like this because they are whole numbers. So you actually would have to combine them. Negative 1/4 and 1/4. I mean, negative 1/4 and 1. Negative 1/4 minus 1. Negative 1 and 3/4. All right, okay, the next one. So here, what we're going to do is, let me see what goes into it. 42, so it should be 16. All right, so 16 divided by -8 plus or minus. I'm going to do some side work real fast, and I'm going to figure out the square root of -84. I know it's going to have an I, so, or a -1. 84 divided by 4 is 21, so it's just going to be sorry, 4 times 21, this is 2i. Reduce here. All right, so it looks good except for one weird thing. Yeah, this negative. So this one was fine. 16 divided by -8 is -2, but here I had a -8 on the bottom. Well, what does that negative do? It actually switches this to a minus on top and then a plus on the bottom. Well, that doesn't really matter. So -2 minus plus I root 21 over a positive 4. It's pretty much the same thing. So I wouldn't even write it this way. I would just, these flip the signs. It doesn't really matter. So your answer is still going to be -2 plus or minus I 21 over positive 4. If you wrote the negative, it's fine, but they actually undoes that one. All right, I think that's about it. The dogs are still barking in the background. Hopefully they're not too loud. Yeah, that's it. All right. Hopefully you guys have that. All right, finally you're done. Turn off the video. All right, see you in class.